Imagine you've just won the AOPA Sweepstakes Cessna 170. I'm Kollin Stagnito, AOPA Senior Vice President of Media and Marketing, and I'm going to give you a personal tour of the newly completed AOPA Sweepstakes airplane.
AOPA keeps flying safe, accessible, and fun by protecting your freedom to fly. We are the most trusted one-stop resource for all things related to general aviation. Become an AOPA pilot today.
Well, the heart of this beast, and the most important change that we made, is installing a Continental Prime IO370 engine. This is a 195 horsepower engine, replacing a 145 horsepower stock engine. That's a 33% increase in horsepower, and boy does it make a difference with this aircraft. It really gets up and climbs, which is what you want when you're in a backcountry situation, especially with high density altitude. Connected to that engine is a Hartzell Trailblazer propeller. This is a constant speed propeller. Coupled with the engine, it does an amazing job of performance on short strips and when you really need to climb to get above the proverbial 50-foot tall trees. Another really important element of the sweepstakes airplane, Alaskan bush wheel tires. Now these are 26-inch tires. And these tires are really important for a backcountry airplane, really for two reasons. Number one, these tires are inflated to only between 10 and 18 PSI. It's not very much. And when you land on a bumpy field like this, the tire absorbs a lot of the shock. So you've got a really great spring steel landing gear in all Cessnas, but in particular, when you touch down in this airplane, it barely feels like you've landed. Another important reason for tall tires like this is prop clearance. So back to the prop, you'll notice that from where it's standing here on the tail, we have probably a good 2 feet of ground clearance. So if you're taxiing over weeds or over stones, you're not going to get any chips in your propeller. The wing is very tall in this airplane. The tires certainly made it stand a lot higher. So getting up to check the fuel, well, you can see for somebody like me, that's pretty well impossible without a ladder, unless you have a pair of steps and handles. And these are from F. Atlee Dodge. They donated these steps and handles. And you can see, this makes it much easier to get up to inspect the wing and to look at the fuel. And while I'm up here, I want to point out a couple of important mods that we made to the wing, really important mods. Kayla Hunt talked about them in a video where we tried to stall this airplane and it's so difficult to stall the airplane. Well, why? Two reasons, because Steen Aviation has an STC for the Sportsman's Stall Kit. And that is this cuff on the front of the airplane. Not super visible until you see this is where the original wing was, right here. And so this is extended 2.5 to 3 inches further out and also cambers down to provide more lift for the aircraft. And your stall speed is reduced significantly. Furthermore, up here on top of the wings are micro-aerodynamics vortex generators. And these vortex generators keep the air flowing along the wing further than it would normally stay attached to the wing, so that even as you're approaching the stall, you still have control effectiveness in the ailerons. So two really important elements of this backcountry beast. One of my favorite modifications, and one that you'll appreciate as you're moving the aircraft around, are the BAS tail pull handles. Now these are just really simple but amazing. They pull out of the aircraft when you stow them. They will not pop out on their own. You pull them out, and then you can move the aircraft around just by pulling on these handles. You can put all your weight into it. You will not damage the airplane. These are a game changer, moving an airplane like this around on the ground. So for all of you that have tailwheel airplanes, a really nice mod to have. So a few more items I wanted to show you on the outside of the aircraft. We have aero lights, LED, nav, and strobe lights on both wings and on the tail. So the visibility for other aircraft seeing us is really, really good at night. This whole cowl is a modification from stock. The STC to install this Continental Prime IO370 engine came from Stutes Aviation. And Stutes specified where to put the blister. This this whole nose bowl here is made out of fiberglass, and the cowl was changed on the bottom. And Stutz also specified all of the accessories that go on the back of the engine. And an important one that he specified is the exhaust system. And this exhaust system is made by AWI, Aerospace Welding. And as I understand it, I'm pretty sure this is correct, this exhaust actually comes from a Mooney M20J. So not what I was expecting, but a really good idea to use something that already exists and something that fits within this cowl. Well, if you've been following the restoration of the Sweepstakes airplane over the last 18 months, you've seen us put these different parts on the airplane. But the icing on the cake has got to be the paint scheme. This scheme was designed by Michael Garber. He did a terrific job, envisioned a mountainscape on the side of the airplane, and even had the idea for us to put the historic AOPA Wings logo on the tail. Craig Barnett, with Scheme Designers, took that paint scheme and created final paint specifications and templates to give to the paint shop. And that's important because to perfectly recreate this mountain scene required 4 or 5 different templates for each different color of paint. And the airplane was painted by Hawk Aircraft Services in Zephyr Hills, Florida, using Sherwin-Williams paint. Not long from now, before we give it away, it has to have one more annual done, and we will send the airplane back down to Barnstormers in Georgia. They're the ones who helped install the engine to do one final annual before we give it away to a lucky pilot. Inside, Sky Comforts helped AOPA craft this amazing interior. And it's a simple leather, but what's really different about this are the details on the doors and the rear door panels. We've mimicked the mountain landscape from the outside paint design. We have rubber floor mats so that, when you're out there in the sand or dirt, we can easily wash down the floors. The headliner is really different. It's very, very tight to the ceiling, and this is a leather headliner that isn't going to sag over time. And then in the back, we again mimicked the mountainscape over the hat shelf. Up here in the front, we have gotten rid of the 2-piece windshield, which was stock, and replaced it with a single-piece windshield from Great Lakes Aero. And we have this V-brace support from F. Atlee Dodge. And this does, well, a couple of things. First of all, it makes it easier to pull yourself up into the aircraft if you don't want to use the handles. But it also really stiffens the airframe and makes it more just structurally sound. So let's look in the back at the rear seats. One of the things that we wanted to do, especially considering a backcountry airplane, is to have a lot more room in the back for luggage, camping gear, hunting gear, bicycles, whatever it is that you wanted to bring with you into the backcountry. And so we, Lakeview Aero, donated these seats to the AOPA Sweepstakes, and they simply fold down when you need to put a person into the back seat. They fold down and they simply clip into place. And then you have 2 seats that passengers can use. And I haven't sat back here yet, but we've had passengers back here and they said it's plenty comfy. And finally, here's the area where you're going to spend the most time. We're here in the cockpit facing this beautiful new instrument panel that was crafted by Gardner Lowe Aviation. And this is a beauty. It mirrors the look of a stock Cessna 170B, but in fact, it is an all-new panel that was cut by Gardner Lowe. So in this panel, we've taken out almost all of the stock avionics. We still have an analog airspeed indicator and altimeter. Everything else is digital. There's a UAvionics AV30 backup attitude indicator. We have a Garmin GI 275 engine indication system. We have an Aspen Avionics E5 dual flight display, and that is showing the primary attitude indicator and DG. We have a PS Engineering audio panel, a Garmin GNC 355 GPS navigator that also has a comm. We have a GNC 255 Navcom. We have a Garmin GTX 45, and that is a transponder with ADS-B in and out. Ooh, a lot there, but it's a beautiful panel. And this is not just a great VFR panel, this is a fully certified IFR panel. So this lovely setting is the Lovettsville Vintage Aerodrome. And now that we have gone through all of the upgrades for the Sweepstakes airplane, let's jump in the airplane and fly back to Frederick. So one of the things I really like about the Garmin Navigator is the ability to sync with my iPad via Bluetooth. And I just go to settings, and under settings, you'll find the GNC 355. All right, so it's already connected, it's already synced. And then I can go back to ForeFlight, where I already have a flight plan between the Lovettsville Vintage Aerodrome and Frederick. That is this flight plan right here. And by touching this button, I can send the flight plan to the panel. And then when I go to the panel, I press the message. I've got a new flight plan to preview. And so there it is, VA61 to FDK, and then I can activate. And I'm going to replace the current active route, and there's my flight plan. And I can go back to the map, and there's my course, both on the Navigator and on the Aspen Evolution. So super handy. And you know, that works both for VFR flights and for IFR flight plans. If you have a change on your flight plan en route, you can change it on your iPad and immediately sync it with the Navigator. I also love the Garmin engine indication system. I mean, one of the reasons that the panel is so darn clean is all the different gauges, all the different oil pressures, and oil temperatures, and vacuum, and all the things that were on here are all gone, all replaced by this one single instrument that, by the way, you don't need to have it installed in an avionics shop. Any A&P IA can install that. Lovettsville traffic, Cessna 170 departing runway 1, northeastbound Lovettsville. All right, so we are only 15 nautical miles away from Frederick, so it's going to be a pretty quick flight home. So one other thing I did want to mention about the panel, this really awesome panel that Gardner Lowe put together, is not only is it super clean because we took away a lot of the instruments because we have the EIS, but we also have a center stack of avionics, which for most Cessna 170s, at least stock 170s, is not possible. In stock 170s, there's a control T and a chain that goes across back behind the panel here. And so we actually installed a later model Cessna 172Y control yoke that goes down and allows us to put these avionics here. So sort of a big investment in time, but I think really crucial, especially if you're flying IFR, to be able to have these avionics right in front of you, really where you need them. If they were down here along our knees, it's just not, the ergonomics are not quite as good. So we have our primary avionics over here, our audio panel, and our primary attitude indicator and heading indicator, engine instruments right in front of us. I just wanted to point out that the airspeed indicator and the altimeter, these analog gauges are just backups, and we're using the AB30 EFIS as a backup, although that could be a primary attitude indicator as well.
24 Alpha, runway 30, cleared to lane number 2 behind traffic short funnel.
Clear land number 2, traffic in sight, 24 Alpha. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed that quick flight home. Here we are at AOPA headquarters, and hope you've enjoyed what you've seen with this AOPA Sweepstakes Cessna 170. As we always do, we put our heart and soul into it. We don't do every single improvement, but we spend a lot of time on what we think we're going to get the biggest bang for the eventual winner of this airplane. And again, that's coming up soon. December 29th is when the sweepstakes entry period ends. And so it's not too late for you to get some extra entries or join. Go to aopa.org/sweeps to find out additional entry methods. And someday soon, maybe the second half of January, Mark Baker is going to show up at somebody's airport, unannounced, and give the keys of this beautiful backcountry beast to one lucky pilot.